welcome to So Bliss. Today I'm going to show you how to make a circle skirt. I'm going to be making mine for about a 2.5-year-old. I'm making it as a present, so I'm not quite sure, but I found some measurements online. I'll put some links down below if you need to guess. But really you just need the waist measurement. So if you are making one for yourself or for your child, just take their waist measurement, which is usually the smallest part of their body up here, usually in line with the belly button. So just measure that right there, and that's the only number you need to get, and then I will give you the equation. It's pretty simple once we figure out that number, and then we're ready to get started. So the supplies that you're going to need are, first you're going to need your fabric, and I'm going to be using this gorgeous fabric from Adorn It. I'll put a link down below for it, but it's just this beautiful fabric from this company called Adorn It that I just love and adore. So I have a yard of that, and I gave myself a little more extra than I actually need for a 2.5-year-old. So depending on what size you're making this for, that's going to depend on how much fabric you're going to need. And the same with the elastic. You're going to need some elastic, and I'm doing about a 1-inch wide elastic. If you're doing it for an adult, you'll probably want to go 2 to 3 inches wide, or an older child, you might want to go to 2 inches wide. So just see what you like when you go to the store and get that kind of elastic. And I just have, I'll cut it. Right now I have it pretty long, but I'll cut it to the waist size plus 1 inch, and that'll give me 1 inch to make that seam allowance. So it'll just be as big as your waist size. And then you're just gonna need all of your basic sewing supplies. So let's get started. Like I said before, we're gonna have an equation that we're going to put your waist measurement into, and that is going to give us our radius. So if you remember from high school or geometry, whenever you took that class, we are needing to find our radius. So first we find the circumference, which is your waist measurement. So take that, and then we'll find the radius. So radius will equal your waist measurement divided by 2 pi. And if you remember pi, it's 3.4, 3.14, and a bunch of other random numbers. So to break it down for you, I'm doing mine for a 2.5-year-old. So the waist is about 20 inches, and I'm adding 2 inches to that 20 inches for a little give so that they can get in and out of the skirt, so they can move in the skirt and breathe in the skirt, just so you can kind of expand and contract in the skirt. So make sure you add a little give. I recommend around 2 inches on your waist. So the waist is 20 inches, and I added 2 inches, so now I have 22 inches. So I'll have 22 divided by 2 pi, which then comes to 22 divided by 6.28. So all I have to do is that, and for mine it comes out as 3.5. So now I'm ready to make my pattern. So like I said, I found my radius to be 3.5. So I'm just going to take my pen, my ruler, and my paper, and I'm going to measure out from my corner, starting right down here. I'll measure out to 3.5, and keeping the corner of my ruler on the corner of my paper, I'm just going to come out more and mark, and keep going all the way around until I have a nice fourth of a circle. And you can do this with a compass. I just wanted to show you how you would do it without a compass in case you don't have one. So I'm just making sure my ruler stays lined up with my corner down here, because it can move as you move the ruler. And I'm just measuring out to 3.5. So whatever your radius was, that is what you're measuring out to. So now I'm ready. I'm going to connect those dots. And that's all ready to go. So now that we have our radius drawn, I'm then going to add my length, and I want to add 1 inch for the hem on the bottom and on to the elastic. So for mine, I'm going to do about 10 inches. So I'm going to do the exact same thing and measuring down, but I'm starting from my radius right here, and then I will measure the 10 inches. So if you need to figure out how long you want the skirt to be, just measure from your waist, where it's going to hit at your waist, down to wherever you want it to be. It could be above the knee, to the knee, lower than the knee, whatever you want, and it can do that. So now I'm going to go around and measuring from this line, I'll measure out my 10 inches. Now I'm going to cut out my pattern. So I'm just going to cut along this line down here that we created and this line up here that we created, just cutting right along there. Now, once you have your pattern cut out, we're then ready to place it on our fabric. So to prepare your fabric, I've laid mine down to show you how it's going to look. But if I take my pattern off, I can show you my selvage edges are down here, and it's still folded like it would be if I just bought it at the store. And I've folded it over a little bit so that it will match up, and I'm not going to be wasting this fabric over here. That can be my leftover fabric. So sometimes it'll be folded all the way to the edge, but for mine, I'm just folding it a little bit. So now I have the 4 layers. So I have these 2 and then these 2 under here. So I have this nice corner right here that has all 4 layers matching right along this edge, and then I have this folded edge right here. So I'm going to take my pattern and I'm placing that part that we cut for the radius right where that folded corner is and matching it up. See, I just did it the length of my skirt, so the raw edge of my fabric is just right there, so I'm not wasting any fabric. So that's the only reason I did that. So I'm going to place this against here, lining my edges up. So this is on the fold and this is on the fold as well. So now I'm ready to cut, and I'm just going to be using my rotary cutter. So now that I'm done cutting, I'll take my pattern off, and when I open it up, I should have a perfect circle, just like that. And that's how you know you cut it out right. And now that it's all cut out, I'm going to go and serge around all my raw edges. So the circle right here and all along these edges right here, so that they can be prepared to be hemmed. So once I'm done with that, then I'll be ready to put on the elastic. Now, if you don't have a serger, but you still want to clean up these raw edges, you can use your sewing machine and just do a zigzag stitch close to the edge right along here, and that'll help prevent it from fraying, which is the whole purpose of doing it with the serger as well. Now that I have all the edges of my skirt serged, I'm next ready to prepare my elastic. And my elastic is going to be 21 inches long because I had the 20-inch waist, and then I added an inch so that we can do the seam allowances. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match my raw edges up, and I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and sew them together at 1/2 inch. And I'm going to take each piece right here, each edge, and serge along here so that it doesn't fray anymore. If you don't have a serger, you can do a zigzag stitch. I just think that'll give it a cleaner, nicer finish, and then we won't have any of this coming off in the end. Now, once I have my elastic sewn together and ready to go, I'm then going to find 4 equal points on the elastic and the skirt that we can match up so that the fabric is divided evenly among the elastic. So to do that, I'm going to take the seam that I just created with my elastic, and I'm going to fold it right where that seam is, and where it folds on the other side, I'm not stretching it or anything. I'm going to take a pin and just place it there so it holds my place, and then I'm going to take that edge, that folded edge, and the pin and match those up. And then where the edges meet, right on either side, like right here and right here, I'm going to put a pin there. And there. So now I have my 4 evenly distributed points on my elastic. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the skirt. Now with the skirt, because we don't have matching edges or any matching seams, it's just a simple circle, I'm going to make my own sides. Now, if you have something that you want on the front or the back, make sure that you account for that. So I'm just going to put a needle here on this side and then pull it across like this, making sure fabric's even, and pin that side. And then I'll match those pins up. And pull it so it's even, just like this, and put needles on either side again. Now, once your skirt and your elastic have the pins in them, I can then match them up. So this doesn't have a pin in it, but this is where I'm going to start with my seam. And I'm just going to take my elastic and slightly cover about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch, cover the fabric and that serged edge. And I'll just pin that in place. And then I'll go over to my next pin and match those two up. Again, covering the fabric about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. Now, once you have all your pins matched up, this is what it's going to look like. So it might look a little funky, but now we're ready to go over to our sewing machine and sew this down. So we're going to be stretching our elastic to fit within that space that is in between each pin. So when you're sewing, you're going to want to make sure to stretch the elastic so that it lays flat with the fabric. So I'll stretch that section together and that section together. So that's why we pinned those needles like we did, so that each section has the same amount. Now I'm going to go over to my machine and I'll just start stitching here, and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch. You can do a zigzag stitch or a straight stitch. A zigzag stitch will just stretch better, so that's why I prefer to do that. And I'm just going to be stitching that elastic down onto the fabric. Make sure that you're catching this fabric on the back. Now, once your elastic is sewn on, now we're going to finish off the hem, and that will be our final step. So I'm going to take mine over to my iron, and I'm going to iron it under about 1/4 of an inch. So then it will lay nicely, so it'll be much easier for me to stitch down. So I'm just going to iron it down about 1/4 of an inch. If you would like to pin it, you can as well. And then I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and top stitch that edge down. And you could do a straight stitch, you could do a zigzag, you could do a double needle stitch, whatever you prefer, and just top stitch that all the way around the skirt. And then once you are all done with the hem, you are all done with your circle skirt. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and had as much fun as I did. I'm super excited about this. Now I want to make one for myself. So I'll make sure to post pictures of any of the other ones that I make on Instagram. I'll put the link down below for that. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!